Okay, hi Lenny.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Slow Speaking English with Lenny Noyce.
So now you're at home.
I'm at my Doma, which is my home in Ukraine in the district of Obolon. And we are here with my friends Zhenya and my beautiful wife Alina. I don't know if she's okay to be on camera, but she looks very beautiful. She's shaking her head no, or as we say in Ukraine, ni.
Okay,
Ni is no.
so now we will have an experiment. Tell us what kind of experiment.
Okay, my friend Zhenya proposes that we will see how uneducated Americans are in geography. And I can give you an example because when I first started coming to Ukraine 12 years ago, I used to tell people, because I'm somewhat of an actor, as you can see, that I was from Ukraine. Because I work in the restaurant business, and as a waiter for fun, I would say, oh, use a silly accent, say, I bring you something from the bar. Speak English kind of incorrect because I was in a European restaurant. And they say, oh, where are you from? And I would say, I am from Ukraine. Here I am, Slava Ukraine. Oh, you're from Russia. So 12 years ago, before the war, Americans thought Ukraine was Russia. And the only way to give them an education was when the war started. And in 2014, when the war started, all of a sudden Americans knew Ukraine was separate than Russia. I believe war, we say, is God's way to explain to Americans geography. So now my friend Zhenya is going to test my knowledge of countries and see what an American, low-educated American would know about geography.
So yeah, I will name a country and you will tell me what you know about this country, some interesting facts or anything.
Okay, so we have not rehearsed this. I don't know the answers in advance. My friend Zhenya, as a producer, proposed that we have, a little test, but I propose we do it live.
Okay, so
We do it live.
first country should be easier. Maybe let's start with France.
France. Okay.
What do you know?
Well, I have been to France with my beautiful wife. We were in Nice on the French Riviera. We also were inside of France, a little bit in the middle, and we were in a place called Sur Loup, Côte d'Azur, I believe, where my friend Manuel Gelli, who is Italian, was working in a small restaurant. So what about the history of France? See, I don't know much about the history of France.
Maybe the capital.
Oh, now you want me to do the capitals. So France.
The capital of France.
The capital of France. I'd like to come back to that question. I like to pass.
Okay, next country is Egypt.
Egypt. Egypt is a beautiful country, and I've also been to Egypt. And I have been to the House of Cleopatra in Luxor, Egypt, which is 3,600 years old. A very fascinating place. In Egypt, many people might not know, there was many, many years that Egypt was ruled by women. Cleopatra, of course, but she was for a short time. And I don't know the names of the other rulers, but very great rulers in Egypt. Many times were women, 3,600 years old. I've been in 3 places in Egypt. I've been in Hurghada, Egypt. I've also been in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. I know that Egypt is on the Red Sea. I know when you swim in the water in Egypt, you can almost float because there's a very salty ocean, very salty ocean. Wonderful food, wonderful people. When we were there, probably 8 years ago, not so many tourists. Americans had stopped going there because there were some problems in the pyramids where Americans were kidnapped, and Americans got scared and stopped going to Egypt. And because of the war in Syria, Egypt were supporting the rebels in the war in Syria, and Russia was supporting Assad in Syria. And so Egypt also barred all Russians from coming to the country of Syria.
So maybe it was easier because you've been to France and Egypt. So maybe.
But what about, don't you want me to name the capital of Egypt?
You know the capital.
You want me to name the capital of Egypt, and I would like to pass and come back to that question.
Mm-hmm. So maybe next question should be more difficult.
Okay then, hit me.
Okay, Armenia.
Armenia. Armenia is in Europe and Eastern Europe. Very long history of Armenia. Lots of fighting. I believe, I'm just going to speak freely here, you know. I'm not a high educated person, but I want to say that Armenia was at war with Azerbaijan.
Azerbaijan.
Azerbaijan. And I
good.
believe those two countries are close to each other. And I believe they have many fights.
Yes, so your knowledge is not so bad. You're doing very good.
Okay, well, let's get into Africa, the 50 countries in Africa. Would you like me to name the 50 countries in Africa and their capitals?
You can do it.
I cannot do it.
What? Okay, maybe this one is not very difficult. Argentina.
Argentina. Well, you know, I have a friend from Argentina. Argentina now has, recently, many problems, so they're in the news. And Argentina has an inflation rate of 250%. They have a new president who does an extreme measures, shock economics, he calls it. And it's a very tough situation. The inflation rate's 250%, and the people can't afford to eat. But there is hope. And as we all know, as long as you have hope, it gives you the will to continue. And now with a new president, I believe that Argentina would have hope to, for the future.
Maybe next one should be difficult. Bangladesh.
Bangladesh.
Do you know what continent is that?
I'm going to say it would be, I have to guess a continent. I'm going to say Bangladesh is, of course, in Africa. So that would be South America.
So which one, Africa or South America?
So are you telling me that Africa is a continent? I know that. Of course it is. I don't know where Bangladesh is. I mean, I can make up something because I'm very entertaining. But no, I'm going to just have... I like to pass on Bangladesh.
So let people
come
in
back
comments,
to that question at the end.
Let's people who know, they can answer in the comment section. Okay.
Yes, please answer in the comment section, and please don't forget to subscribe. Okay, I believe we're up to almost 70 subscriptions now, and I would like to make an announcement on my YouTube channel that my producer, he's very expensive because he's high-end producer. even though he's always doesn't have the batteries, or he didn't forgot the microphone, or he wants to use my camera. But he's very expensive, and he's proposed that he's going to keep 50% after we get 1 million subscribers, and make $1 or $2. But I would like to propose and make an announcement that all my proceeds from this channel, I'm going to donate to the Ant Kitchen, where I volunteer cooking for the heroes of the Ukrainian army.
Mm-hmm.
So 0 money will go to Lenny Noise.
So maybe one more country and that's it. What do you think?
Okay, but I want a very spectacular country.
Okay. Finland.
Finland. So, would you like me to start with the capital of Finland?
Yeah.
I'm going to pass on the capital of Finland. But I would like to say that in Finland, they speak Finnish.
Anything else you know about?
Is that correct?
I think it is.
Okay, there you go. See? And the reason for this segment on slow speaking English is to, as an American with a low education who grew up in the 70s, rock and roll and marijuana and, peace and love, Americans, might not know geography well because they don't travel. Only 20% of Americans have their passport, and of that, only 60% use their passport. Now, Europeans, I propose, are very much more educated in geography because they travel. So, as you can see, we are not so educated in geography, and myself even have traveled. That's where I've gotten my education. But, so I'd like to say goodbye, and thank you again for joining us for another episode of, wait for it, Slow Speaking English with Lenny Noise, the star. So, do pobacenia, telebacenia. We'll see you again soon. And don't forget, if you like what you hear, punch the button below that says subscribe. We'll see you next time. Ciao, ciao.